So I think go ahead and get started. It's about 5 minutes after. Thank you for joining us this morning, and I really appreciate it. I'm Judy Ellis, and the title for this session is Boards of the Future, Sustainably Diverse and Inclusive. And the reason I chose those words is because there are times when I've seen a lot of activity go forth with trying to create more diversity on our boards. And some of the ways we go about it, I don't believe are always sustainable because we may make promises to people that we can't keep, and or we may approach people in ways that really doesn't lend to feeling a part of the organization. And then once they're on the board, if there aren't practices that are really inclusive, then it's kind of a drag to be there, and you will lose your diverse candidates that you may have spent lots of effort recruiting. So I've also interviewed a few colleagues and friends of mine who serve on local and national boards as well, kind of give you an insider's view of what it feels like to be asked to serve on a board, what resonates, what doesn't, and what practices really are kind of more exclusive than inclusive. And the goal is to give you an idea of how you can better both recruit and retain diverse board members. So what we're going to cover today is really kind of recruiting board members reimagined. It's not that tactical, which I'll cover in a second, but more of a mindset shift so that you'll have that way of thinking that really can make your unique service that you provide and your organization fit with the right candidates that would be useful and helpful for your organization. And then you're going to go in breakout groups for a short time where you're going to work on tailoring your pitch, so to speak, for your organization so that you're able to make it more attractive and have more of an opportunity of bringing diverse board members on. And then we're going to end by talking about some inclusive practices that you can help instill in your board engagement so that once you get these diverse board members there, they feel as if they really belong and can stay. And first, I'll just pop up a cartoon that I have used before. You'll see he's standing there going, why don't we have any fresh ideas here? And sometimes that's what it seems like in the room. Not to say that if they're all even white males in a room, they're not all the same. There can be diversity in thought and still innovation. However, you'll see in this picture, they're dressed the same, their expressions are the same, their facial hair is the same. And then we wonder, why is it we can't get out of this box that we're in, or we're not attracting, younger people, or any of the number of challenges that you're in. So it's a funny way of saying, if we want to have innovation and new ideas, sometimes we look at who's sitting around the table with us. And now we're going to have a poll everywhere, one question. So I'm going to turn it over to Brooke, who will do a little bit of explanation. Brooke, we can't hear you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. If you have a smartphone, let's get your smartphone out and you can take a picture of this QR code. If you don't have a smartphone, or if it's just easier or simpler, I'm going to put this QR code back in just a second, but hold on one moment. So here you have a text you can also do. You can text the number 2233, and your message in that text is Judy Ellis 010. So again, the text to the phone number 2233, and the message is Judy Ellis 010. I'm going to put the QR code one more time, and then And let me know if you need it anymore.
And the question that you'll see on the screen is, using just 1 to 3 words, describe your most significant challenge with diversifying your board. And you might say, I see someone put network, someone's putting limits, like term limits. And if you've done word clouds before, you'll know they get bigger the more people that put that same word in. So we're seeing finding them is kind of jumping out as a big thing. Networking is difficult. Passionate, identifying, recruitment, geography, sincerity, that's a good one. Let's see, diverse, finding candidates, skills, interests, initiative, older. So I'm seeing some groupings, and I'm interested in the age category. We have age and then we have older. But we see that a number of you have said just finding the candidates, doing the networking required. Current, I'm assuming that means keeping current board members engaged that you have. Someone else said leaving. So a lot about having people matriculate on finding or sourcing candidates, and then some more things like term limits and making sure that the passion and the authenticity, I'm assuming, is there, and the sincerity is there. And I really resonate with a lot of these challenges because they are the same challenges I faced when trying to recruit even friends of mine to participate on boards. I feel like the pool is somehow shallow, and I've dipped in so many times that I can't really get many more fish out. So we're going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation now. But I appreciate that you've been really forthcoming with saying, yes, we're having a challenge. It's hard to network. It's hard to find people. And that definitely is something that's often challenging. So now I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint again. And I think that what I've said earlier is that although people, I think, have a passion, and I'm intuiting some of the words that you put, that finding people is what has drawn many of you here. I want to get more people that are diverse. And I'd like you to consider that sometimes going after just tactics to bring more people on is not the best approach. And so I'd like you to consider that we really want to have a shift today, and that's to a new mindset. And it's a new way of thinking about what is it about my organization that is attractive and that will draw in those people that are, as someone put, passionate about the work that we're doing. And in doing that, it's really important, first and foremost, to identify your why. And as nonprofit professionals, I'm sure many of you are well versed in the outcomes that your organization has, the many people that you serve. And part of what I'm challenging you to think about is think from an outsider's view on why is it that someone would want to connect with my organization, especially perhaps someone that may not look like me or have a similar background to me. And so what I'm going to do is share just a very short video clip, and some of you from Greater Cincinnati may know this gentleman, but it's Carl Satterwhite, who's the president and owner of RCF Group. They do office furnishings and a number of other facilities work in the country. He's also a partial owner of the Cincinnati Reds. He's served on United Way, Anthony Munoz Foundation, and the International Fellowship of Chaplains. But I'm just going to let you watch a minute of an interview we just had in the last week, and then we'll pick up.
I'm trying to find a person of color, or I'm trying to find a Black person. And what typically comes out is that we're trying to diversify our board, as if diversify was our name. My name is diversified, and the diversify, so of course there's a match. So I think that misnomer is offensive in many ways. But because leaders like myself know that no one's attempting to be offensive, I think we might do a mistake by not correcting the behavior. So we continue to hear the same, we want to diversify. And even in cases where sometimes we're being asked to refer, it still comes out as, hey, we're looking to diversify our board. Do you know any other people of color that might be interested in serving on our board? And it's just offensive. And to be honest with you, I have to do better of finding the right way to give honest feedback. And maybe this form that you've created is going to do that. Because what happens oftentimes when I go to that second category and they really want me to be on this board because they really need to check the box, I've even had those requesters go into, well, do you know how many Black people we help? Like it's an obligation. I have an obligation now. I got to help now because look at all the Black people they help. And I'm thinking to myself, what a heavy burden and what an awkward way to say, won't you serve? Because what it really is doing again is really placating to a Black race, a Black uniform. Is to say, well, don't say no to me, because if you do, you're saying no to the Black kids that we help. And all of this was really started wrong by not just having the right first conversation instead of the ask to check the box.
Okay, so Carl said a mouthful there, which I think as soon as you hear it, it makes sense. And that is approaching someone because of their diversity and leading with that. Hi, Judy, we're trying to diversify our board. Would you please serve with us? Is not an appealing pitch. And just substitute in, another identity. Hi, Peter, you're a man. Would you please serve on our board because we need more men? It doesn't feel personal, doesn't feel as if it really resonates with who you are. So one of the most important things that you can do is ask yourself, what is the unique aspect of our mission that an unrepresented board member can help us fulfill? So is it that we are serving a population and we don't really have the understanding of some of the beliefs and practices of this population? And so it would be really helpful if you could serve and help provide that perspective. I was talking with a medical group earlier this week, and they were telling me how the different populations and their reactions to the COVID vaccine was actually surprising to them, even though they serve a number of underrepresented communities, but they still did not realize just how resistant some people in some populations were. And one of the dentists at this practice said, I knew this, however, if the leadership had asked me, I was already preparing some of my patients, even though I'm a dentist, kind of peppering in narrative about how safe this was and how I'm taking the vaccine, et cetera. So I just offer that to you to say that there are many times there are ways that we want to connect with someone, but we want them to know that we value them as a human. We value their leadership ability. We value their passion and interest, and we want to hook into them with that, not just, we're trying to diversify our board. Would you please, come serve? And the second bullet there says, what unique value will the individual get from leading in our organization? What is it that's the intrinsic part of your board that really excites your most engaged board member? And you might think about that. Just jotting those kind of thoughts down on a piece of paper, like people love being connected to the children we serve, or people love feeling like they have a part in solving the drug problem. You get my gist. Whatever it might be that is your unique value and that is a unique part of your mission that might be attractive to the population is important to ask yourself. The second thing I'm going to offer you is that you might want to redefine your who. And this is not a blanket statement, because some people have not as high a bar for board membership as others. But I know I have served on boards and am serving on a board presently where the expectation for board donation would be considered pretty high for some people in another socioeconomic class. And so for a 5-figure give, that already is going to bring your population down. And then if you're looking for, let's say, ethnic minorities that can also give 5 figures, then that's going to bring it down more. And then they live in the greater Cincinnati, Columbus, wherever area. And then they're passionate about the unique part of the mission that we serve. And you'll see these circles are getting smaller and smaller. So there may be an opportunity to rethink, who is it that we're really trying to get, and what is the most value that we can get? And as I said, I'm not painting this with a broad brush, because not every board has a requirement that board members give at a level like that, but some do. And there also might be other requirements that may be prohibitive to some diverse candidates. And so what we're going to do now is watch a brief clip from Edgar Smith. Edgar is one of our larger business owners in Greater Cincinnati as well, sponsors a lot of the events at the Symphony. He's the president of World Pack Paper. He serves on the Boy Scouts. He's been on the American Red Cross. He also serves on national boards. After American Fine Arts, he serves on Sundance Film Board, and he talks a little bit about the subject that we just mentioned. So I'll let you hear from Edgar.
I'm the CEO of World Pack Paper. World Pack Paper is a global distributor of high-quality printing and packaging grades of paper, innovative packaging and recycling solutions, as well as industrial and shipping supplies. We service the Fortune 500, the Fortune 1000, and it's something that we're very passionate about. We're real paper people. But allowing an individual to have the option to give personally or to get is really a wonderful option, because oftentimes there are individuals that have the wherewithal to go out and to bring sizable donations to an organization for that organization's work and their mission. And they need to have the flexibility to do that. There are other times when we think we can look at other ways to get to maybe we'd like to get to. There might be, I'm the CEO of World Pack Paper.
Oh.
World Pack Paper is
I
a global
apologize. I'm going to try to get back to where he was.
to have the option to give personally or to get is really a wonderful option, because oftentimes there are individuals that have the wherewithal to go out and to bring sizable donations to an organization for that organization's work and their mission, and have the flexibility to do that. There are other times when I think other ways to get to maybe the level that we'd like to get to. There might be a potential step-up program where maybe initially they make a certain donation, then next year they step up to another level, and then a level after that. And so I think we need to allow ourselves to be innovative, to be considerate, to be very thoughtful when we put together our criteria or policies around the fundraising piece, the giving piece, as it relates to creating diverse boards. Oftentimes, I think organizations get caught in ruts where they go back to the same wells they've always been going to, where they're comfortable and looking for things, and sometimes they can't find what they're looking for because they don't realize they need to take a more maybe non-traditional approach to creating some new and different things. And it really points up that we have to create some new relationships. We have to realize that everything we do communicates.
Everything we do communicates, Edgar said, and we might need to consider new relationships. So I have on the screen here, who else might you consider to diversify your organization? How might you be more innovative about membership expectations? And for some boards, they have done things, Carl talked about it, although he went on so long I couldn't use the clip, but he talked about how a particular board he was on, that they decided to target early career leaders versus kind of mid and later leaders that many boards all go after. So they started partnering with like YMCA's Black Achievers program and others, so that they were getting kind of new into leadership, but they also may not have the financial ability to give at the same level as a mid or late career person, but you probably will get a lot more in terms of kind of walking it, physical energy and stamina and interest. And so many organizations, I know when I was a young 20-something-year-old early in my career at Procter & Gamble, Cancer Family Care, a local organization, was the first board that I sat on. And I didn't probably offer a ton in that early experience, but it taught me a lot about board governance. I learned about Greater Cincinnati in many ways, and it helped make me the leader that I grew into later. So I think looking at potentially getting people earlier in their career is a way to find people that aren't being asked, every other week, would you please join our board? Also, as Edgar mentioned, looking at that give-get requirements, because it may just be prohibitive for some people. And finally, it's not always who you know, but who you don't know. And that may seem counterintuitive, because how can I connect with people I don't know? And while I said this isn't going to be a tactical presentation, I can tell you, working now for an organization that recruits almost hundreds of thousands of employees a year for blue chip companies, it's not really rocket science to expand your networks in the world of social media. That's one kind of tactical tip I'll give you. But what someone did to get me on a current board I'm serving was just hit me up on LinkedIn by writing a message that was somewhat tailored to me and said, it looks like you've been interested in serving families and people with illness because of your involvement. And then they listed that some boards that I had served on and some work I'd done. And so it intrigued me enough that it made me give them my email address. And then I ended up going out to lunch with them. And I think I've served on this board 3 or 4 years now. But it started with just a recruiter kind of hitting me up on LinkedIn. And that's something that you don't need a lot of money to do. I mean, if you just spent an hour on the weekend, and I toyed with showing this on my screen, but I decided I don't want to be that tactical. But you can just look at, don't hit up Edgar and Carl, please, because they were like, we hope we won't get asked to serve on 100 more boards after today. But if you look at them, you look at their friends, or LinkedIn will say, people who looked at this person looked at these other people, or you look at the groups or organizations that they're in, and then you can kind of trace, kind of birds of a feather flock together. Who are these people and who are their associates? And then, you can write many of them. If your organization pays for one LinkedIn premium membership, you can kind of inbox people and say, hey, I'm really impressed with the work you've done, blah, blah, blah. Would you be interested in, going out to coffee? Or I'll send you a Starbucks gift card. Someone did that to me about 2 weeks ago and said, I just would like some career advice. And I just thought it was so innovative. And she was like, since it's a pandemic, I'll send you a Starbucks gift card. And it's like we're having coffee together. So it just takes some ingenuity and creativity. And if you're like me, I learned a lot of these kind of tactics from my adult children now, but it's not that difficult to expand your networks, or find someone on your board, or get one of these millennials or Gen Zers on your board that might spend an hour a week doing that kind of recruiting. We're kind of at the midway point, and an important message that I think you heard themes of in both Edgar and Carl's talk was, you want to tailor your story to your audience, because it really rings tone deaf if you talk about, hey, Judy, how are you? Would you work on our, construction committee for XYZ? And you can look at my background and see I've never done anything like that. It's not related to any of the work or the interest I'm in. So I'm very likely not to say yes. However, if you can tailor your pitch, so to speak, and do what I told you that LinkedIn person did. And now that I'm thinking of it, the current organization I work with, they also found me on LinkedIn. I was not looking for a job, but again, a recruiter wrote me a little email or a little inbox in LinkedIn. So that's 2 hits for my life that I just realized I've had, significant involvement working somewhere and serving on a board for over 4 years, that they contacted me that way. But what it was not that they contacted me, it was what they said. And that's what I have on the left of the screen there, is that when you're communicating with a board candidate, particularly person of color, you want to clearly articulate your mission and specifically name the various ways that the candidate would add value and help your board fulfill its mission. And that may seem really simple, but I will tell you, in the last month, I've just been talking with friends about their board participation, and only one of them said that was the approach that someone took when they came to them. And so I have a model here that is pretty simple, but if you'd like, you might take a picture of it with your smartphone. But it just says, we're excited you're open to considering service on our board because we admire the related work you've done with, and then you list their organization. I told you that was the pitch that got me. We admire the work you've done with X. Our mission addresses these specific needs of this specific population in our community. We'd love to learn more about your passion, interest, or work, and have you consider joining us to expand our mutual impact. So that's a pretty simple model where all you're saying is look at something in the person's background instead of Carl saying, we want to diversify our board. So would you, obviously you're brown or black, would you get on it? And say, we admire the work you've done with X. Our work addresses this specific need of this population that you have shown you have a lot of interest in our community. And we'd love to learn more about your interests and have you consider joining us. So I can't see, unfortunately, I can't share my screen and see the chat as well. But what I'd like you to do now, we're going to put you in some groups for about 7 minutes. And we want you to work on developing your own board pitch. And this is not just your generic pitch that I'm sure, and I don't mean generic, but your standard pitch, which I'm sure many of you know the value of your organization and can do it kind of your 2-minute elevator pitch. But I'd like you really to spend a moment and write down what is the specific need and specific population your organization serves that may appeal to diverse candidates. And then imagine what similar passions or interests or work a diverse candidate might be engaged in that fits your board profile. And then in your small group, I want you to take turns actually saying your pitch out of your mouth and help each other refine it or brainstorm some builds. So, you know, if you were to say, my specific need is I'm serving families, you know, with children. I'm feeding families with young children. And I'm specifically targeting lower income populations in Hamilton County. And I think people that might be interested in that would probably have served in some kind of food related work before, or perhaps family related work or children related work. And specifically, because we're in Hamilton County, you know, if they live in Hamilton County, that might really appeal to them. And try to use that to tailor your pitch and then practice with each other. So you can either write this down or you might take a picture of it with your cell phone. And we're going to put you in groups. And when you come back, I'd like you to pick a spokesperson that's prepared to share any new insight you gained while you were in your group. Or perhaps if we have an ambitious person that might take themselves off of mute, if you would share your pitch or one of your pitches that you thought you were able to iterate that got pretty good. And I'm going to go back one more screen again to let you, if you want, take a picture of that example pitch that we have. And are there any questions? You can take yourself off mute, or maybe I'll stop sharing my screen for a minute so I can see you or see the chat. Are there questions before you go to group? Okay, well, we will have you back in about 7 minutes. So Jenny, if you could have the groups of about 4, we'd appreciate it. And we'll see you back shortly.
So about 4 people each, you're saying?
Yes. So 7, 8. Some groups may have 5.
Okay, I'm going to open all the rooms now. Okay, I think I have moved. Jack, you can put yourself in a room, or I can put you in a room. Okay. I Judy, I think we have everybody in the rooms. There's a few people maybe that didn't get in
Okay.
or get, oh no, they've just moved. Okay.
So
Well,
Beth and Dana are,
Beth and Dana, yeah, I don't, let me see how I,
oh, now we've got a new person.
I think I can move her into I can assign her into a room.
Hey,
put her-
Jenny, can you put me back in Bill and Roger and Mary's room? I got disconnected
Yes,
from my computer.
will do. Okay, so she's been, Megan, you should be assigned now. Who else do we have? Beth Schwartz. Beth did not join and Dana did not join. So Judy, do you want to move? I'm going to move you to room 7. Is that okay?
I prefer not to go to a room.
Oh, all right.
I'm trying to check my time on something.
Okay, no problem. These two don't show as joined. I'm not sure how to move them if they don't show as joined. And they happen to be in the same room.
Oh,
So I can jump in there though, I think.
oh,
Somehow she keeps falling off. Keep reassigning her. So do you, let me know if you need me to broadcast a message.
okay. Maybe when we have 2 minutes left, I will. Well, does that broadcast automatically though? I can't remember.
No, you have to type it in.
Okay, I'm gonna read through the chats because there's a lot of activity
So
here.
let's,
How to explain it?
I'll just put in text in the message what you put on that slide.
Thank you.
Michael, we are moving into breakout rooms, so I'm going to assign you to a room. Just hang on right now. Oh, I can't type all that in there.
Wow.
Let me know when you want to like give a 2-minute warning or something.
Okay. Sorry, I just now saw your chat.
That's
Jenny
all right.
asking. I can't see it. I don't have
Yeah, I just figured out how to do that recently and now I've forgotten. And so otherwise I would tell you how you can manage that. But
I happened upon it recently where it was like presenter view, but it only happened once. And I haven't been able to.
if you see the chat, and it might be easier again, just looking at it on your phone, Megan put any suggestions on how to explain how inequitable it can be to have a give get requirement, that type of question.
I'm seeing this great lots of great content in the chat, so I'm going to respond. And oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah, maybe I can join on my phone and then I can just have the chat on there.
It looked like some people dropped off. I think some people don't like to do breakouts. So
They don't actually do any one-on-one work, perhaps.
Oh.
Okay, that's me.
that's you. So just turn your phone off of if you're on your phone or whatever device, just turn that off so we don't get any interference.
Okay.
This is where you get to be in two places at one time.
Now if I can find the chat. Okay, I see it.
What do you think? Are we ready for a 2-minute warning?
Yes, we
It's
are.
11:45 or 1-minute warning.
Yeah, let's say 1 minute. I've timed myself and I have plenty of time, but depending on how much we talk now.
Yeah. I mean, if you want people to report out or just see how that felt or things like that. I don't know where you are in your slides.
Yeah, I have one.
Probably want to end, you know, a minute or two before 12.
Yes.
Doing great so far, though.
Thank you.
I'm not going to put Heather in there. Heather, welcome to the program. I'm not going to move you into a breakout room right now because I'm getting ready to bring everybody back in a second. So hang on there. I put that out, but I forgot to time a minute. So let me know when you're.
I'm ready for them.
Okay. I'm going to close all the rooms then because it takes 60 seconds.
Hello, welcome back, everybody.
Just starting to come back in. Actually, not yet. They're
lost in the ether zone.
It takes a minute, so that means they're having good conversation.
I hope so, or they all left.
Starting to come back now.
Okay. Now, the best part of these workshops is meeting your fellow participants. Sometimes it's hard to get people back. Looks like we're populating and we're pretty much all back. So, who will be brave and share with us what happened in your small group? Were you able to identify any ways that you could refine your communication to diverse candidates for board membership? And if you would take yourself off mute and let us know what happened in your small group. Okay, I'm going to do like teachers and just call on names.
Hey, I'll do. Bill Tucker told me that I had to speak for our group. And we obviously focused on the common relationships and that you have to have a strong relationship with somebody before you can ask them to be on their board, in our opinion, because all of us are very relational people. But in the pitch, just sharing how their heart and their interests match ours, and they could bring so much value serving on the board. It's not about their money, it's about their talent and connecting their hearts to our heart to help people in need. And so I think that was kind of the tack that we took, and all of us had a chance to do the pitch except Mary got cut off at the end because we ran out of time.
Well, thank you, Roger. I love what you're saying, that connecting kind of heart to heart, where those passion points are aligned, is a really authentic way to tell people, I care, you care about this, hey, let's work together. So I love how you've shared that bringing that human component to why are we want to be involved in this together and do this together. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. I'll give Bill Tucker credit.
Okay, well, thanks, Bill, for getting him to do it. Is there anyone else that had a unique insight in your group that you'd like to share?
Judy, this is
I
Kurt.
can speak.
Go ahead.
I
Go
can
ahead,
speak
Holly.
for our group. I don't know if you can see me.
Holly?
Hi.
Hi.
Getting off of the pitch a little bit, one point that we talked about is when I think none of us have a single Black member of our boards currently. And we talked about how in previous discussions, there's been concern about, you don't want to just bring one singular person of color onto your board and how uncomfortable that can be. And, you don't want to tokenize someone, and how do you then bring multiple people on at the same time, and just kind of navigating that. And we also had many reasons why it's important, connected to our mission, to bring on more people of color onto our board. So we didn't come up with the answers. That's where we are.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Holly. And what I'm hearing is, how do we not tokenize and not make it uncomfortable for someone that may be the only person in their identity group on our board, but we really want them on our board? And I think being sensitive and honest and open about that is an important factor, because there are some people who are like pioneers. I've served on many boards and are currently where I'm the only African American, but I'm kind of used to that and have tough skin, so to speak. But if someone gets that experience and they're not expecting it and it's a surprise, that's when it's not really going to be sustainable. So I think it's going to take a little bit more conversation to say, hey, we're really interested. It's because of, as we already pointed out, your work in this, or you're passionate about this. And then, hey, I want to let you know that we're trying to build more diversity of all types, but right now we don't have another African American. I want to make you aware of that and be upfront about it, in case that might be something you want to consider joining us at a later date when we have more people. And some people will say, oh no, that's fine. And some people will go, yeah, maybe hit me up in a couple years when you have some more people. But I think the point is just being open and honest, because I've even coached employees who made a decision. One young woman moved here from California to work at a local organization, and she did not realize she was the only African American. And so she felt betrayed the whole time and ended up leaving within a 2-year time period. But now they have a woman who knew that. It's kind of like the Martin Luther King, I'll be the pioneer, I don't mind, but making people aware is important. So thank you so much for that question. And because of our questions, I'm going to have to speed through some of the rest of this. But part of this is tactical, just how. If you are in an organization like you just mentioned, Holly, you might want to partner with another organization for help. You might consider asking the Urban League, the YMCA Black Achievers, the African American Chamber of Commerce, and I'm mentioning organizations that have a lot of American or other ethnic minorities, or a woman, junior league if you're looking for women. But you might let them know, we're looking for leaders that might be interested in X. Would you consider helping us? You also might do something called a listening session where it's like, a happy hour or a Zoom hour where you just try to find an interesting way to get leaders in your target population to engage with you and hear from them. How do you view our organization? How do we show up on the map for you? And you might learn some content that you weren't aware of about how people are viewing your organization. And then actively work to expand your own networks. We all can grow and get more diverse people in our network. So the more you extend yourself, get involved in other organizations and activities, and are able to meet people one-on-one. But as I told you, two of the most significant experiences in my life, including a board service that has a really big give-get, someone hit me up on LinkedIn that I didn't know them. They didn't even live here. They were recruiting and they just found me. So don't tell yourself, I don't know enough people and that means I can't find them. There are ways of tailoring and targeting people that you don't know personally, although knowing people personally clearly is the best. And then measure progress and hold yourself accountable for results. And now, if you get these board members with you, once they're there, you want to make sure you're doing inclusive practices on the board so that people don't feel as isolated, kind of what I'm intuiting Holly is speaking to when you've been on a board that's not very welcoming. So I've just got things in 4 buckets. Create opportunities for connection. Make sure that you're intentional about including them in the work, inviting them to serve on key committees. You may foster some social interactions that you think might be happening naturally. I can tell you on one of the boards I sit on, I'm not very connected. People don't kind of ask me out to hang out. And so I know the executive director tends to come to me when there's a happy hour or a dinner to make sure I'm mingling, to introduce me to other board members that may just assume we don't have anything in common. And so they're not mixing and mingling. It's like being a good host. Then you may put some inclusive practices or encourage your board president to put some in the actual board meeting. Create a norm where it's okay to hear opinions that aren't popular. You might put a placeholder on the agenda and say, what's the alternate perspective to this? What might we be missing? And when an important question arises, make the group take some time and write down their answers and then go around the room versus having the most vocal person always be the only one to share. That's a way to get your introverts and your people that may feel less included to feel that they have a voice and can add in content as well. And then I have on the bottom right, intervene when there's exclusion happening. If you have an interrupter, so to speak, on your board, tell them, hey, why don't you capture the notes for this? Would you tune them in to start listening because they have to write the notes down. And what I'm saying is keep shepherding your person, because as Holly's already alluded to, the feeling of being different and not fully included gets maximized when your voice isn't heard, when your opinion is different, when people are interrupting. And so helping manage the interaction and creating a more inclusive climate on the board is important. And finally, I have used facilitation tools like having people vote with dots or using flip charts, etc. All those things that add more kind of democratization to the way decision-making happens helps people of difference on a board. And I've got a tool here which I can send out, but it's just a way to watch meetings and see what are maybe some potential exclusive behaviors I'm seeing that we might want to address? Is one person always talking? Is one person interrupting? Or is there some collaboration that I think could happen on the board? And these two members seem to have something in common. Maybe I want to join them up together. So it's a way of kind of opening your eyes and using a lens of inclusion to see what are ways that I can build on these good relations that are happening, and how might I want to talk to my board president and execs about finding and noticing ways that there may be exclusion. And it's helping to build this leadership capacity in your board members, that it's not just the work we do, it's how we do the work. How are we working together? And in closing, I'm just gonna let Edgar talk really quickly before you go back to the large group.
And when they come to a board and they're sitting there and they're truly languishing because no one has really made them feel like they truly are a part of the board in every way, it's not the best feeling. And I've had individuals that I've brought to organizations, to boards, that within a relatively short period of time, those individuals will, let folks know that they're going to move on. And they may give various reasons that might not necessarily be the real reason why, but when it works out and lines out, it can truly be one of the most beautiful things that you've ever witnessed or ever felt. I mean, the feeling is just very euphoric when you are in a situation where you feel included, where you feel your talents and thoughts and suggestions and questions are being handled the way in which they should be. It's a great thing. And oftentimes people will join up with others that they find interesting or they want to help out. And when that is not present across the board, we have to resort to asking individuals to, hey, would you come and be a board mentor? Would you mentor this person and help them in the process of effectively serving on this particular board? And I think that's okay. But most of those things occur very naturally. And but when there's an absence of that, I think we do have to employ other means to ensure that people take the opportunity or are given the opportunity to connect with others so that they can continue to be successful in their efforts and in their service.
Well, that's it for me. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate meeting you. I dropped my email in the chat. If you have any questions or would like follow up, I'd be happy to talk with you. And I wish you great success at continuing to build more diverse boards and sustainable boards. So nice seeing all of you.
Thank you, Judy. And
Thank
if
you.
anybody wants to
Thank
join
you.
the Lunch and Learn on Zoom, feel free. You can share more insights, connect with other people. It's on the agenda in your platform. And Judy, I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting and jump into that if you don't mind.
All right.
Thanks so much.